on Friday night, heading into what I would consider one of the best conference champions. I mean, they're all great. All college conference championships are great, but this one's a great one too. Western Kentucky hits the road to take on Jacksonville State. I said Jax State, but it just didn't sound right off my tongue. So Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks versus the Hilltoppers. Friday night kickoff at 7 p.m. on CBS SN. Jacksonville State currently favored in this one by 4.5 points at Amherst Stadium in Jacksonville, Alabama. And Brad, one thing to mention before we get into all these championship games, for these smaller conferences, these group of 5 conferences, most of the games are played at a home field advantage as opposed to some of the bigger group of 4 conference championship games that are played at a neutral site. So something to keep in mind, and I think it makes it a little bit more exciting as well. Brad, I'll turn it over to you. Thoughts on this game and who comes out on top to win the Conference USA?
Absolutely, Nate. Thank you. Great intro. So, yeah, these two teams, they can kind of roll out the same game plans they had because they just played last weekend. Of course, we picked this game, and it was I did not get to watch this one, but I've watched the highlights of it. Very, very close game. Western Kentucky wins 19-17 on a field goal with 3 seconds left. And Nate, this one, as you know, we kind of talked about this came down to Western Kentucky's passing game versus the Jacksonville State running game. For Western Kentucky, Caden Veltekamp, the very talented quarterback, threw for 300 yards, but they even ran the ball very, very well. And then then Jacksonville State ran for 229 yards. So, look, I don't think it's changing the script that much. Obviously, you mentioned it's going to be a great atmosphere. This one down there at on the campus of Jacksonville State in Jacksonville, Alabama. That's going to be just a really, really good atmosphere. It's going to be interesting. I think potentially we could see, another low-scoring game. These two defenses are once again, they're very, very familiar with the offenses they're going to face. Nate, I'm going to double down here. I believe I picked Jacksonville State last time out. I'm going to take him. I'm going to take him again because I think they're going to be out for vengeance, for payback. They want to win the Sun Belt, and so I'm going to go with the Gamecocks in this one.
Yeah, Brad, this is a great matchup. I know we're going to talk about all the other championship games, but these two teams, really close in terms of geographical standpoint, Alabama and Kentucky, which I guess they're not border states, but still you got to think right there, right next to each other, close proximity. So you don't have to worry about traveling from West Coast to East Coast to West Coast. Even though it's a road game, it's going to be a tight matchup to your point. I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair. The over-under is 57.5. But a couple of key storylines to look out for in this game. And, Brad, this isn't going to change my pick at all either, but the quarterback health of Jacksonville State, Tyler Huff, suffered an ankle injury in the previous matchup, so he's considered a game-time decision for this championship game. His availability could significantly impact the Gamecocks' offensive strategy. But you got to think for a championship game, guy's probably not going to get a chance to go pro unless he significantly has a standout game in this conference championship and maybe has a successful pro day at Jacksonville State. But I say all that to say, it's hard to beat the same team twice, right? I mean, we've seen most of these conference championships this year, with the exception of a couple, even with the SEC, right? We're getting a rematch with Georgia and Texas. We'll get into that one in a minute, but it's hard to beat the same team twice. They're going to have their number this time, and I think if Tyler Huff is healthy and he's ready to go for this game, I'm going to take Jacksonville State in a close one. I think this is a 20-17 game. Again, shout out to Lucas Canero, who kicked the game-winning field goal for Western Kentucky on November 30th against Jacksonville State to win that game 19-17. But, yeah, this is going to be a low-scoring affair, very, very high-powered defenses on both ends, and I think Jacksonville State's going to get their number come this Friday night on CBS SN. Let us know down in the comments who you think is going to come out on top in this Conference USA matchup.